This is a huge problem for the media, for big tech, for the US government. Everybody remembers that they were told that the lab leak theory is a crazy conspiracy theory that was debunked and that nobody with any knowledge would actually believe. Only to learn that major agencies inside the US government, including its most elite virology unit at the Department of Energy, believe not just that it is viable, but the most likely theory. That's a huge problem. How in the media can you defend yourself now, having spent 2 years telling people that this crazy conspiracy theory is one that you should laugh at, only to learn that the government's own scientists at the highest levels believe that that's the explanation? So the New York Times today published an article trying to salvage what they did. It has a very strong headline. There you see it. New data links pandemic's origins to raccoon dogs at the Wuhan market. That's pretty bold headline. New data, new discovery proves a link between the wet market in Wuhan and the pandemic's origins. Genetic samples from the market were recently uploaded to an international database and then removed after scientists asked China about them. That's the New York Times article today. It starts off, quote, an international team of virus experts said on Thursday that they had found genetic data from a market in Wuhan, China, linking the coronavirus with raccoon dogs for sale there, adding evidence to the case that the worst pandemic in a century could have been ignited by an infected animal that was being dealt through the illegal wildlife trade. Now, look at the language here. You have this gigantic, bold, bombastic headline leading people to believe that new evidence was just found by scientists proving, or at least strongly suggesting, it came from the wet market. And already in the first paragraph, what we learn is these experts are saying it. There's no paper that you can read. There's no scientific data that has been published. There's no peer review survey. It's just experts claiming this. And then even the Times in the very first paragraph is already backtracking from that headline. Look at this language, adding evidence to the case that the worst pandemic in a century could have been ignited by an infected animal. So already they're saying this is not actually proof. There's no new study. It's just some experts saying we think we might have found something, suggesting that this may have happened. The genetic data was drawn from swabs taken from in and around the human seafood wholesale market starting in January 2020, shortly after the Chinese authorities had shut down the market because of suspicions that it was linked to the outbreak of a new virus. By then, the animals had been cleared out, but researchers swabbed walls, floors, metal cages, and carts, often used for transporting animal cages. And samples that came back positive for the coronavirus, the international research team found genetic material belonging to animals, including large amounts that were a match for raccoon dogs, 3 scientists involved in the analysis said. This is not how scientific research works. That anonymous researchers make claims to the New York Times about evidence you can't evaluate, not published in peer-reviewed journals. Now here's the real paragraph that you have to really focus on. Quote, the jumbling together of genetic material from the virus and the animal does not prove that a raccoon dog itself was infected. And even if a raccoon dog had been infected, it would not be clear that the animal had spread the virus to people. Another animal could have passed the virus to people, or someone infected with the virus could have spread the virus to a raccoon dog. In other words, this proves nothing. It says, but the analysis did establish that raccoon dogs, fluffy animals that are related to foxes and are known to be able to transmit the virus, deposited genetic signatures in the same place where genetic material from the virus was left, the 3 scientists said. That evidence, they said, was consistent with the scenario in which the which the virus had spilled into humans from a wild animal. The new evidence is sure to provide a jolt to the debate over the pandemic's origin, even if it does not resolve the question of how it began. It most certainly does not resolve the question. And then it mentions the new Department of Energy study, which is why this New York Times is saying this. And then we get the following. But the genetic data from the market offers some of the most tangible evidence yet of how the virus could have spilled into people from wild animals outside a lab. And it then says, Angela Rasmussen, this is how it ends, a virologist at the Vaccine and Infectious Disease Organization at the University of Saskatchewan in Canada, who worked on the analysis, said that the human genetic material was to be expected, given that people were shopping and working there and that human COVID cases had been linked to the market. Dr. Goldstein, too, cautioned that, quote, we don't have an infected animal, and we can't prove definitively there was an infected animal at that stall. Genetic material from the virus is stable enough, he said, that it is not clear when exactly it was deposited at the market. He said anything that the team was still analyzing the data and that it had not intended for its analysis to become public before it had released a report. But he said, given that the animals were present in the market, were not sampled at the time, this is as good as we can hope to get. So you take that analysis in the headline, which seems extremely conclusive and revelatory, and by the time you get to the end of the article, not only is there no study, but it basically proves nothing. I think we have a tweet from my former colleague at The Intercept, Brian Grimm, who analyzed the flaws in this article. There you see the tweet, and it says, quote, there are a lot of reasons people don't trust the media, some good, some bad. But look at these last three paragraphs, the ones that I just read to you, and compare it to the headline, and you'll see why one very stark example of why trust in the media is collapsing. They had to create a headline that gave people who want to believe in the zoonotic theory some way to believe new evidence was discovered as proof to get rid of this lab leak theory that just got a lot more credibility when the article itself, once you read it, almost says nothing. And certainly doesn't match the promises of the headline. Thanks for watching this clip from System Update. Catch our full shows for free, live weekdays at 7 p.m. Eastern on Rumble, and join our locals community at greenwald.locals.com for all of my written journalism, exclusive after-show Q&As, and more.